meantime, if you have a phone or anything that makes noise, please turn it off. In fact, I forgot to do that with mine. Is everybody excited? Excited to have these, and proud of your respective candidates? It is an exciting time. Yeah, I went through this and graduated in 2012 from this program, so it's a great moment. It's nice to be over all of this stuff, and I imagine that's true on your end as well. Todd, are they about ready to come in? Just a few more minutes. Very good.
got these sit down here. This is the dean's speech. Make sure they see it. And these are his slides. Okay. This is already unmuted, and this is unmuted. If you want to tell everybody to sit down.
Well, as soon as we begin the music. Okay, just start the music whenever you're ready. When you hear the music, please everyone stand as the folks will enter. So whenever you're Thank you. Good afternoon. Everyone may be seated. Thank you. And then I'm going to ask you to stand again, but but I do want to welcome all of you to this commencement program for the class of 2023. Appreciate very much your coming. Sorry we're running a little bit late, but what I'd like to do now is have you all stand again and join us in the national anthem. Thank you. Thank you. Be seated. I'll have you know I offered to sing the Star Spangled Banner and I was voted against. Anyway, and aren't you lucky? Greetings again. This is the 14th, the 12th cohort, this class of 2023. To all your guests, both here and virtually, I am Louis Grabowski. I direct the program here at Georgia State, the DBA program, and along with my co-conspirator, Dr. Mathiasen, we basically have run this program. So welcome again. Today we celebrate the completion of the program for our 12th cohort, and it's hard to believe it's been 14 years since we started this program back in 2009. As Albert Einstein said, it's not that I'm so smart, it's just that I stay with problems longer. Similarly, these DBA graduates are pretty smart, some of them, but it's not that they're smart that we celebrate today. Rather, we're celebrating that these students today are the ones that spend the last 3 years learning the skills to how to rigorously approach problems. These are the ones that then took these learned skills, applied them to examining a practical problem, shed some light on that problem, and then shared that knowledge in the writing and successful defense of a dissertation. In short, it's not just that they're smart that we celebrate, it's that they have learned how to stay with problems and do so, and in doing so, made themselves a little smarter and the world a little smarter. Moreover, these soon-to-be doctors have come to realize, as the industrialist Henry Kaiser put it, problems are only opportunities in work clothes. So it gives us great pleasure that another group of highly motivated and smart problem solvers are ready to deal with the opportunities and challenges of the future. Congratulations. I would like now to introduce our special guests. Please stand when your name is called, and the audience, please hold your applause until we're done. Our special guests are Richard Phillips, Dean of the Robinson College of Business at Georgia State, Dr. Bridget Blake, First Lady of Georgia State University, a DBA graduate herself of Drexel University, and our commencement speaker, and of course, Dr. Lars Mathiasen, who is a professor in the Computer Information Systems and co-founder of the Center for Digital Innovation, and he is also our esteemed academic director. Please welcome our special guests. I would also like to recognize our dissertation advisors and those who have guided our students to their successful dissertation defense. The advisors are here today. Please stand when I call your name. Richard Baskerville, Professor Emeritus of Computer Information Systems. Todd Maurer, Associate Dean for Faculty and Research. Satish Nargunkar, Assistant Dean for MBA Programs and Clinical Professor of Management. And Dinesh Shah, Associate Professor of Marketing, and Peter Zhang, Department Chair and Professor of Management. I also want to thank the advisors who could not be here today, Danny Ballinger, Professor Emeritus of Marketing, Wesley Johnston, Professor of Marketing, and Yusun Shia, Director of the Institute for Insight and Professor of Analytics. Please join me in a round of applause for our advisors. And one last little group I need to mention is our staff and graduate assistants who have worked so hard to make this program and this day a success. George Vallejos, our Associate Director in the back there in the white coat, and then of course Stephanie, who most of you know, and over there, our Assistant Director of Marketing, Nima Beast, I hope I got that name pronounced correct. Is she out in the hallway or is she here? Okay, and then Paige Christian, who has been our GA for a couple of years now, and she herself is graduating. So is she in here or is she, again, out of here? Okay. In addition to our advisors and staff, I'd like to acknowledge and recognize the DBA students and alumni in the back there who have joined us to cheer on today's graduates. And now let me have one more round of applause for our staff and for our dedicated alumni. It is now my pleasure to ask Dean Phillips to come to the podium to say a few words. Richard Phillips is the 7th Dean of the Georgia State University's Robinson College of Business. Before his appointment as Dean in 2014, Dr. Phillips was Robinson's Associate Dean for Academic Initiatives and Innovation. He was chair of the Maurice Greenberg School of Risk Science from 2006 to 2012. An economist, Dr. Phillips' research interests include the impact of risk on corporate decision-making and the efficient functioning of insurance markets. He has twice received the Robert Meyer Award, given to authors of scholarly papers with the greatest impact on the fields of risk and insurance a decade after publication. Beyond the university, Dr. Phillips is also the corporate director of Munich American Reassurance Corporation and a past president of the American Risk and Insurance Association, the Risk Theory Society. He serves on the board of the World Affairs Council of Atlanta and is board chair emeritus of the Swift School, one of Georgia's largest private schools serving dyslexic children. Richard Phillips holds doctoral and master's degrees in managerial economics from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania and an undergraduate degree in mathematics from the University of Minnesota. Please join me in welcoming Dean Richard Phillips.
Thank you, Louis. And good afternoon, everyone. Oh, come on. I know it's Friday, and we're getting a little tired and ready for the weekend. It's great to be here today, and it's a joy to be here for the DBA exercise, commencement exercise, and it's a real joy to have Dr. Bridget Blake here with us today, the university's First Lady. I'm looking forward to her comments later today. It's partly the reason that this is such a wonderful afternoon for me is that these exercises bring back memories of my own hooding ceremony that I remember quite well, now almost 30 years ago. Earning my doctorate remains one of the most meaningful achievements in my career. And I do remember quite well that accomplishment and that what it felt like for me at that time. We were chatting about that in the hallway. I made the comment, "Are you done with your thesis?" And the answer was yes. "You have no idea." And I said, "Oh, yes, I do." Did you work hard? I'm sure you did. I know I did. And did you stretch yourself? I'm sure you did. But you went the distance. In truth, I could say the same about every DBA cohort dating back to the inaugural class. They also stretched themselves. They also went the distance. This is a tough program, and completing it is always impressive. But the cohorts in the recent years have experienced the demands of the program multiplied by the challenges and complexities of a world that was turned upside down by COVID. When you entered the DBA program, it was August of 2020. The world was just 5 months into a pandemic, and it was still trying to figure out how to navigate what was then a mysterious illness with climbing numbers of casualties. Then, the stress of the March shutdown was compounded in May by turbulence and civil unrest after the murder of George Floyd. And 3 years later, the nation is still further divided and continues to grapple with the seemingly unbridgeable differences that we experience every day. As executives, each of you entered this program well aware your plates would be full and overflowing with unprecedented challenges. And the fact is, you could have chosen to not enter the DBA program, and no one would have blamed you. But instead, you chose to forge ahead with your plans and start the program instead of postponing until things calmed down. Have they calmed down? The fact is that you moving forward says a lot about who you are, both individually and collectively, and it's a testament to your resolve. And today marks 3 years of hard work. You've mastered rigorous research methodologies and newfound capabilities, and you are ready to address vexing business problems. The outstanding work that you've produced will remain relevant for years. Want proof? Here's some proof. The dissertations produced by the 172 alumni before you have produced so far more than 245,000 downloads off of the DBA website. So, you are at the apex of your careers, and now you have attained the highest level degree that one can secure in the study of business. What's next for you? Well, let me give you an answer to that question by quoting a fellow business school dean, but this one made it during his appointment 100 years ago. Dean James Russell of Columbia University proposed the following in 1925 at the dawn of professional education. He said that on our best days that we, quote, produce men and women released for trained leadership, free from the bias of creed, free from the blight of pseudoscience, free from the curse of the mere technician, practitioners imbued to a certain extent, we trust, with the university ideals of culture, of service, and of public devotion. At Robinson, we have taught you leadership theories that emphasize that authority derives not only from the statutory authority defined by a role, but also from the moral authority as demonstrated by one's integrity, as demonstrated by how one makes decisions. The evidence-based approaches that you have mastered in this program provide you a unique capability to be credible in the marketplace for new ideas as you seek to lead with moral authority. You're gonna need it. Because we're at a unique moment in history. Google CEO Sundar Pichai said the following in a special that aired on 60 Minutes just last week when he was referencing the next generation artificial intelligence tools currently being released by his company and Microsoft and others. He said, quote, "I've always thought of AI as the most profound technology humanity is working on. More profound than fire or electricity or anything we've done in the past. It gets to the essence of what intelligence is, what humanity is." Business and markets have been described as the most important institution in our society. They create more jobs, they lift more people out of poverty, they deliver more life-saving innovations, and they have the potential to solve more of the world's grand challenges than any other sector. But this does not have to be the outcome. Business and markets may be efficient, but they are not inherently fair, kind, or just. They are only so because of the leaders who operate in them and lead them. Leaders with the inner fortitude to define their core values, the confidence to express those values to others, and the skills to credibly lead in this moment. Now, all of this has been true for some time, but if you believe Sundar Pichai, the stakes are even higher now, given the awesome power of the tools coming online and the ability for them to be used for good or for evil. As graduates and future graduates of this program, you are the leaders who have the unique capability to lead in the moment, right now, due to your understanding of the intersection of modern technology, the evidence-based methodologies, and the strengths and limitations of business and markets. How you choose to use those capabilities and lead in the future will determine the impact on various communities and the impact that business has in our society. In the words of Dean Russell, I encourage you to lead with the ideals of culture, of service, and of public devotion, and to do so free from the blight of pseudoscience and free from the curse of the mere technician. Change for good happens when people step up with empathy and they lead courageously. This is a time that requires leaders willing and able to do so. Please do so often, and you will leave the world better than you found it. In closing, I encourage you to remain involved with the members of your cohort, your advisors, and your DBA colleagues through the Center for Engaged Business Research. Congratulations on your graduation from the Executive Doctorate in Business Administration program. I look forward to staying in touch with each of you and seeing where your leadership impacts the world in a positive way next. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Phillips. I think we're at that part of the program where we actually do the hooding. Advisors, as you come on stage, please stand on your little mark over there. And next to the dean, to wait for your graduates. And graduates, when your name is called, just come on up the steps and stand on the mark in the front. You'll see a little X facing the audience. And that's it. Let us begin. Dr. Mathiasen.
So I will call you one at a time to enter the stage. And the reason we do it this way is because our graduates deserve not only to be hooded, but to be mentioned for what they have done. And of course, it's very difficult to do in very short time, but I will nevertheless try to do that, give a little bit of sense of who they are, because that's really what we are celebrating here. And one thing I would like to have you note is that I will speak both to their name, of course, but to their profession and to their research. And the hallmark of this program is that we marry two ideas here. The idea of an accomplished professional that learns about research methodology and hence can become a very good, rigorous problem solver. So let me call first Dale C. Herndon to come to the stage. Dale says here, Dale is assistant professor in finance, which is true, but please note that this guy has worked with finance for years, he's worked with business for years, he's worked with mergers and acquisitions. And his dissertation related to that is sustainable investing, navigating the inefficiencies of an inefficient market. The supervisor is Richard Baskerville. We need to do this right. I want to make sure people can see. Yeah, you're doing right, Richard.
Going first is always tough.
Next, can I ask Christine E. Davis to come to the stage? Christine is a controller and a certified personal accountant, and I'm sure that she in her lifetime has applied for several jobs, and also that she's been in decisions where others have been either decided to get a job or not get a job. So she knows quite a lot about that. And her dissertation has the title, Vanishing Without a Trace, Measuring Job Applicant Attitudes Toward Ghosting Across Stages of a Job Pursuit. And the advisor is my good colleague, Dr. Todd Maurer. Please.
You'll get away.
It's correct that Preston is also your student, right? Okay, so next I want to introduce James Preston Davis, a polymath. I must frankly admit I didn't know that word, but it's self-chosen by Preston. It's sort of a Renaissance man. You can also say it's sort of a jack of all trades. And I can't say everything Preston has done, but I know for sure he's a good marketer. I know he's a very enthusiastic entrepreneur. He is now serving as a professor at one of the local universities. And not to forget, he's a qualified rock musician. So please. So next is Brandy Nicole Newkirk. This is a long description, Brandy. Assistant Vice President of Assessment and Accreditation Services at Morehouse School of Medicine. So Brandy is a senior staff member at one of our local universities, and one of the things she works with is marketing, recruitment, making the business going, and making it relevant for the market around it. So she wrote a dissertation with the title, The Impact of Social Media Sentiment on Market Share for Higher Education Institutions. And the chair is Dr. Satish Nagunkar. Please. Next is Darren G. Franklin, please. Darren G. Franklin works for the Peace Corps and as Chief of Operations. His dissertation has the title Organizational Resilience, an exploratory study on elder care and support responses to COVID-19. So the chair is Dr. Satish Nagunkar, please. Next is Valerie Bridget Lee, CEO of the Wellness Spot Atlanta, VB Consulting, BVB Foundation, and Building Bridges holding company. I will just make it short. I mean, this is an entrepreneur. It's an African-American entrepreneur, and it's a woman entrepreneur. And the dissertation is beautifully titled, The Intersection of Entrepreneurship, Race and Gender and Spirituality. Question, does spirituality in women entrepreneurship play a role in business success? And the advisor is Dr. Denise Shah. Please proceed. Next, Stephanie Martin Malone. And it says briefly here, accreditation director, but we have a top leader from the insurance business within healthcare. And Stephanie has written a dissertation with the title, Increasing the Engagement and Awareness of Black Women in Medical Research, so within her industry. Maybe that's the road you might take from here on. Stephanie, I don't know. But anyway, please go ahead. The chair is Dr. Dennis Shah. Next, welcome Michelle McRae Payne. Michelle is Director of Safety in a big multinational company, and actually your research is done in that company and also across borders. I think you've looked into both Germany and the United States, as I recall. And a very provocative title, I would say. The question is, how safety leadership styles impact employee safety behaviors, which is not a trivial thing to answer. The chair is Dr. Peter Zane. Please go ahead. Next is Scott Harlan Crumpton. Scott is Director of Customer Experience. And may I say, Scott was the first to defend his dissertation. He was always on time and early. I don't hope your family is here, but that's at least how you were in this program. That was fantastic. So the title of your dissertation is Unintended Consequences of Organizational Error Culture. Does the strive for perfection cause employees to put on a facade and consider leaving? And the chair is Dr. Wesley Johnston. Please go ahead. Next is Uday Kumar Kanike. And Uday works for SAP, the big enterprise system provider, one of the world's largest. as a technical architect. And the dissertation is entitled The Impact of the Usage of Information Technology Tools by the Software Professionals Working Virtually Because of COVID-19 Lockdown, the impact it has on the team effectiveness of the software teams. And your dissertation advisor is Dr. Yusen Sia. Please go ahead. Last but definitely not least, Mitchell Lee Reed. Mitch is a sales operations professional, and his dissertation relates to that area and what he knows about, assessing business to government customer contractor relationships using social exchange theory during the search and selection stage. And the advisor is Dr. Danny Norton-Billinger. Please go ahead. So I'll just briefly say that thank you to each of you and all of you. It's been a pleasure working with you. Being here with you today makes me very proud and happy.
Please join me in one big wow whoopee for the class of 2023. Congratulations. I would like now to introduce our commencement speaker. We're very proud to have Dr. Bridget Blake as our commencement speaker today. She is the First Lady of Georgia State University. In her professional career, she serves as a principal systems engineer for the MITRE Corporation, working to improve the quality of the nation's health care. Dr. Bridget, as she's known around campus, received her bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Georgia Tech. We allow those people. She holds a master's degree in business administration with concentrations in management and finance from Johns Hopkins University, and she has a doctorate in business administration, a DBA, in leadership decision-making from Drexel University's LeBeau College of Business. At Georgia State, Dr. Bridget uses her expertise and time to promote positive mental health for GSU students, increase awareness and support for different learning styles, promote the arts while serving on the board of the Rialto Theater, and supports financial literacy programming for students. She and President Blake have two sons, Brendan and Bryce. Please welcome Dr. Bridget.
Good afternoon. Dean Phillips, Dr. Mathiasen, Dr. Grabowski, thank you so much for having me today. It is an honor to share in this special day with all of you. You stole my line. Can we hear it one more time for our graduates? Fantastic. You all look incredible, and I look forward to seeing all of you at our alumni events. But for today, I've been asked here to share a bit about my doctoral journey, as well as share some words of inspiration with you. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever tried yourself or seen someone else trying to get something down from a really high shelf. I myself tried this not too long ago with some mixed results. As I saw the item I wished to retrieve, like partially in view at the top of the shelf there, but partially obscured, I thought maybe with a little help, I could get that down. Did it have to be that particular item? Not necessarily, but it did seem like the best item for the job. So would I let something as small as 3 vertical feet get between me and that item? Of course not. I knew I was innovative and knowledgeable enough to get it down without a stepladder. So I grabbed my long shoehorn about this long and coaxed the item from the top shelf, and alas, it teetered off, and as it seemingly slowly began making its way down the 3 feet, I opened my arms to catch it, and boom, hit me square on the head, and landed with a thud on the floor. Ouch! As I reached down to grab it, I was mostly glad, a little bit mad, and a little unsure as to whether maybe I had a concussion. But this journey from deciding I wanted that item off the shelf to successfully retrieving it, albeit from the floor, is a fitting analogy from my journey to obtaining my doctorate in business administration. I'm really glad that I did it. I'm proud of the work that I did, painful as it may have been. I'm also glad that unlike the item retrieval, I had support along the way. So graduates, I'm sure support systems were an important part of your journey. Can we take a moment, perhaps, to recognize these spouses or significant others of graduates who were along with you for that journey? And any parents that may have witnessed this amazing accomplishment by their kids, or their parents in the audience? Yes? And I think I might have seen some children for whom the parents were really trying to role model. Can we hear it for those kids? And lastly, any family, colleagues, friends, other supporters? Yes, all right, let's hear it for those. And along with the incredible faculty and staff, you all hopefully know you played an important role, whether directly or indirectly, in the success of each of today's graduates. So thank you for that. So graduates, undoubtedly, since you shared this accomplishment with family, friends, and colleagues, some may have asked you what you plan to do with your next chapter, your post-DBA chapter. With that in mind, I've taken the liberty to share some of my thoughts with you today with life in general, my life in particular, and my DBA journey, loosely interpreted as a dissertation with the 5 chapters we are now all too familiar with. But before we jump to chapter 1, we should do the fun part, which was our acknowledgments, I think. So in the context of work, it's important to find supporters, mentors, and mentees within and outside of your organization. I think we've all heard that. They lend valuable perspective. More broadly, I think we can acknowledge that our supporters fall into several categories that include the giver of tough love, the listener, the advice bestower, the non-listener. It always seems to be about them. Cheerleader, the cuteness provider, the Tigger, for Winnie the Pooh reference, the Eeyore, who commiserates and never has anything helpful to say but commiserates with you, the helping hand, the expert, the communicator, the comedian, the distractor, the networker, and the muse, all of which are important and provide value at different times, maybe within the same person or different people. And for me, family members and friends filled those roles. Though there were still times when I needed support and I had to find a way to manage the stress or the unknown without help. So on certain days, my doctoral program felt like a puppy that the whole family gets on board with and promises to help out with, but then you end up being the one walking the dog for the 10th time in a row with no one else to be seen. So indeed, it is a solo gig, which is actually justifiable. But along the way, a support system is critical to one's success and contributes to positive mental health. And as Nelson Mandela said, there can be no greater gift than that of giving one's time and energy to help others without expecting anything in return. So when you find those special people, you hold on to them. So let's move to chapter 1, the introduction. I would guess our introductions to this life vary greatly. Some of us born in the US, others not. Some of us living overseas, others not. Some of us in households where college was expected, even doctorates expected, and some of us not. Some engaged in family businesses and others not. I saw a speaker recently, and she shared Alan Bozick's quote that I thought was really interesting. When we go before him, God will ask, "Where are your wounds?" And we will say, "I have no wounds." And God will ask, "Was there nothing worth fighting for?" And I think our introductions to the world set the stage for our life's purpose and what is worth fighting for and sacrificing for. My personal journey began in Kingston, Jamaica, where I was born to 2 college-educated parents who divorced when I was young and never remarried. And after moving to the US as a toddler, I moved several times as a child. And as my mother's career progressed, I grew accustomed to making new friends, learning new cultures, and managing change. I love music, math, to-do lists, leading teams, sports, and learning and untangling complex things. My favorite things included racing bikes with the boys, playing music with friends, taking things apart, and playing school, believe it or not. I could never get enough of school and learning. It seemed like every time I saw a movie, I found my next passion. I remember after one movie thinking maybe I could learn what it would be like to live with wolves. Speaking of wolves, having 2 big brothers, I was also often the only girl in various situations, and I got used to that and the resistance that went along with that. My mom was a seemingly fearless role model who successfully navigated a male-dominated work environment and inherited a love of politics from her father. She spoke decisively on both topics, and so the seeds were planted for the pursuit of excellence and ultimately my DBA. As a child, I was encouraged to try new things, though not necessarily to take risks. And while she absolutely supported my academic pursuits, she was tied to some traditions around what girls didn't do and did do in things like sports. I was never forbidden, but I did get that messaging. So each of us, I think, is influenced by early feedback as we test different research questions like, what are the characteristics of friendships lasting longer than 10 years? How does borrowing siblings' clothes without permission relate to violence in otherwise rational households? How can the love in someone's heart grow with the arrival of each new child? And how do state and national monthly rates of hate crimes affect stress levels of parents of African American boys between the ages of 10 and 20 in Georgia? We instinctively posit and test a host of questions during our lives that shape our purpose. I was so pleased to learn about your backgrounds and the incredible achievements you made before pursuing your DBAs. You're an integral part of what makes GSU one of the most diverse universities in the world, which makes our research that much more valuable. As an expert in your field, I think you reach a stage when you're ready for the next challenge, and for some, rather than another role, it means branching out. I had always considered getting a doctorate, but had deferred it for work or family reasons. But the voice in my head that sounded an awful lot like my mom's voice never went away, and dreams of a doctorate didn't die. So I think one of the questions for all of us might have been, what is the effect of attaining a doctorate in business administration on the career advancement and fulfillment of graduates? Is it worth fighting for? So as we move to chapter 2, we conduct our literature review. In life, this is where we look for points of reference, we ask for advice and look for examples. In the context of understanding our purpose in life and discerning patterns of cause and effect and correlations, awareness of our options is helpful to focus our efforts. Indeed, we look to biographies and books by experts to learn the secrets to achieving things, attaining things, and improving ourselves. We do this in part to make things more manageable and create focus. Stephen Kellogg said, "It's better to be at the bottom of a ladder you want to climb than at the top of one you don't." If that's the case, we can begin by putting our purpose at the top of the ladder and taking it from there. In my life, I've had the fortune of having great mentors and mentoring others. In addition, working in an expert community allows me to interact with really bright people to gain insights and advice. My family and friends also bring great wisdom and insight to situations, particularly my children. Part of the literature review includes finding the gaps and exploring those gaps as areas of inquiry. In those cases, experience becomes the best teacher. For my DBA, my review included learning about different doctoral programs. I remember asking a colleague if he would recommend getting a doctorate. He had just gotten his, and all he kept repeating was, "It was the best 7 years of my life." And I said, "Oh, what was your favorite part?" And he just said, "It was the best 7 years of my life." With that, I began exploring executive programs that might be the best 3 or 4 years of my life, and the applied nature of DBA programs appealed to me, given that I wanted to continue working. As I looked at different options, the Drexel program worked for me as it was a hybrid program that required 2 visits per quarter to campus for classroom learning, and the remainder of the learning took place via assignments delivered electronically. As someone who had worked from home for over 10 years, the hybrid model fit well, and the in-person components would be local, as I lived in Philadelphia at the time. Flexibility, as with our GSU program, lends itself to balancing the DBA work with obligations. During the interview process, the team was very focused on whether I had that support system due to the large time and intellectual commitment involved. Alumni told stories of missing holidays and events with family and friends during their studies. All in all, though, the opportunity to create knowledge through my research seemed worth the sacrifice. And so did Chapter 3, our methodology. Denzel Washington said that goals on the road to achievement cannot be obtained without discipline and consistency. I don't think any of you would be here if that wasn't how you approached important things in life. The consistency is the piece that often gets overcome by events. But when we can stay consistent, amazing things can happen. For me, my life's methodology is pretty much trying to balance too much. People ask how I do it, and I say through stress, lack of sleep, and a smile. I've also had to start giving myself some grace. During my program, I balanced my work obligations, including leading my team and working through high turnover in our customers' leadership team, managing a multi-generational household, a move, a spouse working out of town during the week, parenting my tween and teen boys, serving as PTA president, being part of the support system for friends and family, coordinating a family member's medical care, and my studies. I continue to take things one step at a time. I make a lot of lists and a lot of calendar entries and delegate whenever possible. Like you all, my DBA journey included the COVID-19 pandemic. On the positive side, it allowed me to shift my focus from the workplace of the future to university leader decision-making during the pandemic. The highlight of my program was the 3 sets of interviews I held with university presidents and provosts between April and December of 2020, during the initial stages of the pandemic. I felt so honored to engage with those leaders as they worked in an impossible situation to keep their university communities safe and to also deliver on the mission of their universities. I did Zoom interviews and ended up focusing on qualitative analysis. I learned a lot from those interviews and was happy to see the transition from the first interviews when the leaders were working with little to no sleep and little to no consistent information, to when they developed strategies for dealing with uncertainty and had their community's cooperation and constructive communication. What they accomplished was really incredible, as is what you all accomplished through that time as well. Another highlight was working in small groups. That group served as part of the support system during the program. We'd meet weekly to check in with each other and make sure we're on track. As the ability to do data collection diminished for some members of our group, we did what we could to help each other find alternative paths forward. My older son, who's now in college, doesn't like the term study buddy, but those study buddies make a positive difference. My dissertation method was trying to write a little at a time. I redid my writing plan maybe 10 times. That's probably an underestimate, because I would get writer's block. I think I was so afraid to get it wrong, I couldn't even get myself to start. That may be due to that risk aversion I mentioned earlier and my perfectionist tendencies. But even with the encouragement of my support system, I was sometimes just stuck. So fortunately, just typing even things that I'd go back and rewrite later eventually got me what I needed for my dissertation. When faced with that uncertainty, it required me to be dauntless. I had done the work. No one knew my data better than I did, and I was the one who needed to tell the story and add to the body of knowledge. In not giving up, I indeed became dauntless. As we move to chapter 4, we get to the findings and results. Michelangelo said the greater danger for most of us isn't that our aim is too high and we miss, but that it's too low and we reach it. What we learn through research and experience help us adjust our aim and take chances. I heard a speaker recommend writing down your top 5 goals And then he said, immediately erase 4 of those and just focus on one thing. That's where you need to write your actions and apply the consistency. And when we're faced with so many things to balance, it's hard to decide where to apply that discipline and consistency. I do think that the energy put into your research is worth another step, whether it be publication or application. And my personal goal is still to publish in a peer-reviewed journal, but the challenge will be prioritizing that. In my personal life, my results in no particular order include being a baby sister, class president, wife, valedictorian, mother, homecoming queen, principal engineer, certified project manager, flag football player of the game, modern-day technology leader, GSU's first lady, and now DBA. And I understand that I share some of those with you. I'll continue adjusting my ladder to make sure I'm climbing in the right direction. In my DBA program, my professor would say that our statistical analysis tells us we know a little bit more than nothing about a subject. My DBA journey has helped me push the boundaries of what I know to be possible. Knowing that we have the ability to do applied research that has lasting impact on our work means we can open doors we haven't even thought of yet. With that, I think the DBA has pushed me to be boundless, less constrained by what people think can or can't be done. Empowered with data and meaningful analysis, we can learn what's possible and learn what strategies can make a real impact instead of making assumptions. I think expanding our thinking has challenged us all to be boundless. And so we come to chapter 5, our discussion. Now what? Well, John Lewis said, "Nothing can stop the power of a committed and determined people to make a difference in our society." Why? Because human beings are the most dynamic link to the divine on this planet. And I think Dean Phillips touched on this. It's the link to the divine that I think gives us the motivation to learn and help and make a difference by applying our learning. To do that, we have to get uncomfortable. In my experience, innovation has occurred at the intersection of excitement and fear. I think the desire for added excitement fueled my desire to pursue my DBA. It ended up being accompanied by a lot of fear, the fear of not doing well, not doing the data justice, not keeping my family safe during the pandemic. But on the other hand, the excitement I felt while conducting interviews, doing my data analysis, and discovering my findings was greater than I'd felt for a personal accomplishment in quite a while. It was very rewarding, and I would encourage others to do the work to have that feeling, and I think you all would as well. I feel what we've learned in the DBA program almost compels us to be advocates. Advocates for bringing scientific inquiry to our work and getting to the root cause of issues and opportunities. Advocates for determining whether cause and effect are at play or just appear to be at play. Using data to create information to better guide decisions and practices. Through the DBA journey, we as experts with intuition become experts with data, used to answer and ask important questions. The situations we recognize, categorize, and deftly navigate take on new dimensions, reveal new possibilities, and through our new lens of inquiry, provide innovation and support the creation of knowledge in ways we may have previously overlooked. And I think that is one of the most important aspects of the DBA, in that we create knowledge as practitioners that complements the knowledge creation of PhDs. The coach Urban Meyer said, "Elite warriors, when they accomplish their mission, they celebrate." Today, you begin your journey as part of an elite group of less than 2% of the population, those with doctorates. So when you leave here today with the new acronym attached to your name, tell those who ask that no, you are not a database administrator, and you are not doing business as anyone but yourself. Tell them you are proud to be a DBA, a dauntless, boundless advocate for the ethical and ebullient pursuit and application of knowledge, reaching for what's just out of reach. Congratulations, DBAs. Celebrate.
Thank you very much, Britt. That was wonderful. Thank you. Well, now, some other thank yous. We want to thank the many people who have made this possible. First, we'd like to thank the faculty and the college and the university staff, without whose help none of this is possible. Please join me in a round of applause for them. Next, we'd like to thank the candidates themselves. Today is more than just receiving a diploma for y'all. It's a formal and symbolic conclusion to a 3 or more year period, or more, of extremely hard work, sacrifices, and a continuous struggle to balance your personal, your professional, and your academic lives. It's the end of an exhausting time for y'all. 24 3-day residences. Sometimes they weren't 3 days, but that's another thing. All that time away from your family and your friends. You studied approximately 25 to 30 hours every week for 52 weeks for 3 years. You were fulfilling the demands of a successful career all during that time. The past 3 years have been one of the most difficult and hopefully rewarding and demanding periods in the lives of all of you. But as the late General Colin Powell said, a dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. Please join me in congratulating our hardworking candidates. Last but not least, and Dr. Bridget mentioned this, we'd like to thank the family and friends of our candidates. The balancing of work, study, and private life has put tremendous pressure not only on our participants, but also upon, and perhaps more in some ways, upon their colleagues, their friends, and their family. In this respect, participating in the program really becomes a joint venture, and therefore our deep respect and sincere congratulations not only to the graduates, but also to the individuals who have supported them throughout this program. Please join me in a very sincere and thankful applause to these wonderful supporters of us all. So now, the long hours are over, the team meetings, the papers, the critiques, the exams, the dissertations are all behind you. You have succeeded in a very rigorous program, and you've done it with style. Hopefully you can take a deep breath now and put your feet up for a little bit and get back to a normal existence, whatever that may be. And afterward, you will all publish your dissertations. Thank you very much. Plug. I'd like to close today's program with the words of the late civil rights activist and Congressman John Lewis in his May 2018 commencement address to the students of Boston University. He shared these thoughts, which I'd like to share with our graduating students as well. You have the power to lead, the power to change the social, economic, and political structures around you. And if you use all your power to love and not to hate, to build and not tear down, to heal and not to kill, then we can once again create a nonviolent revolution of values. A revolution of values and ideas in America, all around the world. And if you continue to pursue that standard of excellence in your daily lives, then a new and a better world, a beloved community, is yours to build. With faith, hope, and love, peace be with you. I wish you well. Thank you. Very good. Now for the fun part, a few housekeeping words. Our new doctors, please follow the recession. And are we going to do the pictures on the steps?
We're going to try to do it outside.
Okay, we're going to do it by Bronzy. That's the panther with the bronze nose. So follow on out there and take pictures by Bronzy. In the lobby right outside this theater, we hope that the new doctors, their friends and families, will join us for a celebratory reception. And then sometime around 6, we'll go across the street for dinner for those of you that can stick around for dinner. That's an RSVP only dinner, but whatever. Thank you once again. And congratulations all. Thank you.